13 is about law of property, real and personal. Um, Property is a bundle of rights in relation to others to possess, use, and dispose. It pertains to tangible or intangible objects. Possession of property facilitates acquisition of more property, and individuals with a disproportionate amount of property can influence society. Types of property are real property and personal property. Um, Real property is land and everything permanently attached to it, like items that, if removed, would cause damage to the property. They're considered like attached. Um, Fixture is an item that is a piece of personal property, which is later attached permanently to the realty and treated as part of it. Extent of ownership is physical components surrounding land that are entitled to the owner, which include the airspace above the land, water rights, and mineral rights. Talk about estates in land, like leasehold estate, life estate, conditional estate, and fees simple absolute. A life estate is the right to own and possess the land until one dies. Usage is required, or usage is restricted than that of a fee simple absolute. Future interest is present right to possess and own land in the future, and it exists in conjunction with a life estate or conditional estate. Talk about licenses and co-ownership. A license is a temporary and revocable right to be on someone else's property. Co-ownership is ownership of land by multiple persons or business organizations. And all tenants have an equal right to occupy all of the property. Talk about joint ownership and the different types, like tenancy in common, joint tenancy, and tenancy by the entirety. Talk about condominium ownership interest. Talk about cooperatives, which is investor resident acquires stock in the corporation that owns the facility and receives a permanent lease on one unit. Talk about voluntary transfer of real property, which is when an owner may transfer the property to anyone for any amount of consideration or for no consideration. Procedures for transfer of property include execution, delivery, and acceptance. Talk about steps in a conveyance. Starts as execution of the deed, then delivery of the deed by the grantor, acceptance of the deed by the grantee, and recording of the deed. Talk about types of deeds, like the general warranty deed, the quitclaim deed, which is transfers the interest that the grantor owns in the property to the grantee. Talk about involuntary transfer of real property, restrictive covenants, and zoning, which zoning is government restrictions placed on the use of private property, just to ensure the orderly growth and development of a community and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of citizens. And then variance is permission given to a landowner to use land owned in a manner prohibited by zoning laws. Talk about personal property, and all property that is not real property is personal property. It can be tangible or intangible property. Tangible is property that is material and movable. Intangible is property that does not have a physical form and is evidenced in writings. Talk about voluntary transfer of personal property. could be like a gift. And then we talk about involuntary transfers of personal property, like abandoned property and lost property. We talk about bailment, um, and then advantages and disadvantages of purchasing property abroad, which the advantages can be helps diversify investments, helps gain certain rights in the country where the property is bought, and disadvantages can be high risks involved, and certain countries place restrictions on the ability of foreigners to buy the property. Um, and also that you as mortgage companies may not finance purchases of foreign real estate.